I couldn't believe when I read Hard Times with Nursery Rhymes came out in January of last year.
Yeah.
So that's a period of time that's when it came out. How long has it been done? How old are these songs off this album, Mike?
You know what? On the vinyl, there's a couple songs that we put on as extra that are really old. I Won't Run No More is at least 15 years old, and so is Take Care of Yourself.
Diamond in the Rough is a couple years old.
Diamond in the Rough is about 6 years old.
So were these songs that...
Some of their songs, they were just, some of them, you know, we tour so much that it's like, you know, and we write
while you tour?
We can.
Yeah.
No, well, not necessarily on tour. I mean, sometimes I don't even pick up a guitar in my hotel. I have one.
Yeah.
I just look at it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, there it is. You know?
Not doing anything today.
Yeah. But we write when we write, and most of the time, though, always throughout our career, is we play the songs as we write them into our live show because we're excited about them and we want people to hear them, and we don't want to wait till it's recorded. Mm-hmm. So it's always worked to our advantage because then when the record comes out, people are already aware of it and know the song already.
I wondered about that because when we went and saw them, the album, went and saw you guys, the album had been out for a while, but man, it was unbelievable. I'm just thinking, is this like a Social Distortion fan just always... do they take it all in advance of everything else? But I guess you just proved why there. So you'll tend to you're just doing them live, and people just pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, I did Sick Boy for 3 years before we recorded it. You know, we had already been playing it for 2 or 3 years in our set, so it was like I said, because I don't want to wait till it's time to do a record to play it. Mm-hmm. I'm excited. It's brand new. I want to show people it. So
a lot of those Ball and Chain.
Yeah.
So around for a couple of years.
Well, before they made the 1990 album. Really, these were already songs you were all doing live.
I think I wrote Ball and Chain in like 87.
So I got to think then that it's probably going into the studio. Is it an easier process because you already pretty well have everything lined up, or do you add?
For the most part, I mean, the more preparation you have, the better. But
sometimes it changes up.
Sometimes we just change plan.
What was it? This was the first album, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first album you produced by yourself, right, Mike? What was it like not working with a guy like Michael Beinhorn, who did a lot of stuff in the 90s for you guys, and then just totally doing it yourself? Is this just because you knew the studios inside and out because you've been in so many of them, or you just wanted to take the shot?
It was a combination of things. Working with these producers in the earlier years, I learned some really valuable lessons from them, especially Beinhorn, who was like a guy who really, agitated you, to a point of like,
I've heard,
who is this guy? Yeah. What do you mean this song's not as good as Ball and Chain? Who are you? And basically getting the artist to, what a producer, in my opinion, should do is get the artist to dig deep inside and pull out stuff that they're not even really aware that's there.
Yeah, the artist, you mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, of course.
So I mean, with those lessons, still, I've held very close to those lessons, and so I'm able to push myself now, and obviously I pushed these guys too,
right?
And they're like, "What, really, dude? Seriously? Like you're the leader of the band, and now you're the producer too?"
Yeah. Well, Jonny, I mean, you joined after the tragic death of Dennis in 2000. Ever since, what's it like to work with Mike Ness? That's I've always wanted to know. Is he a pretty easy? I don't want to say boss, but we'll call it bandmate. Is he a pretty easy bandmate to get along with?
Yeah, it's pretty pleasant most of the time. I mean, I feel fortunate that I'm working for him in the era that I am. I'm not so sure I would have wanted to maybe in the earlier 90s.
Right. Late 80s. Right.
But yeah, it's great.
It is.
Yeah.
Why is that? Tell the people.
The people should know that maybe perhaps Mike was a bit ornerier back in the earlier times.
Ornery.
Yeah, ornery.
Ornery.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I've never, I met you a few times, and I remember you ever being ornery. I had a good talk with Joey Keithley once, who told me a couple stories about you, but DOA going up and down the West Coast, and you trying to raid their the dressing room of its contents. But that was about it.
Them too? DOA also?
Yeah.
And
There you go.
every band that came through.
Yeah. No, anyway, we won't. I can see that we don't want to go there, but instead, I do want to talk about 1978 because 1978 was the year that you guys, that Mike, you and Dennis formed the band. Yeah. Did you ever think 79?
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, did you ever think, some 31 years later, that Social Distortion would still be around, still doing things, and still be relevant to what's happening these days, or did you even care?
I honestly didn't think I was going to live this long. I mean, back then I was 17. And, I had really kind of embraced that live fast, die young, leave a pretty corpse, but I'd wanted to be a rock star since I was 4 years old. So,
wanted to be a rock star or wanted to make music? Both?
Yeah, make music.
Yeah.
Music did something very magical for me at an early age, so I didn't know if I had any talent or anything, but I knew that that's what I wanted to do.
Or die trying, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I always wanted to just take it to the next level, a little bit higher level of like just, people gain more fans, get more, exposure, definitely. And I never bought into that whole thing about it wasn't cool to become successful or anything. Punk had, just like anything, had a lot of stereotypes and we were looking at bands like The Clash and that were had tour buses and had crews working for them, and because of that, they were able to put on very good shows.
And they were able to present their music to a wider audience too.
Exactly.
So you never had a problem with doing that. But it's funny, growing up in a punk rock background too, I can relate completely. It's almost you get to this certain point, and then if you pass that point, then you're either like Husker Du was the first band to sign a major record label deal, and they were legends. They became legendary because they didn't sell a lot of records. But if you signed a deal like you did with Sony in 1989, 1990, and you had some great success. I mean, you had your first gold record in the United States from '97 from White Light, White Heat, White Trash. I don't think anybody looked at Social Distortion and went, well, they're not friggin' punk rock anymore. But I imagine there's a few people still out there.
Yeah, well, it's just the punk rock police. I was like, I love to challenge them. It's like.
And they must want to challenge you, Mike, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I remember just when I wrote Prison Bound. It's like, or. You're going to do a Johnny Cash song, or, it's not very punk rock. And it's like, it's like, well, first of all, where were you back in the day anyways? I don't remember you. And second of all, try telling Johnny Thunders he can't sing a love song. He'll break that guitar right over your head, so.
When did it change?